this is Trista from Zero Casualties. Welcome to another vintage cooking video. Today we are going to work out of this 1928 book, the Delineator Cookbook from the Home Institute. So we are going to make something out of the vegetarian dishes section, which is peanut souffle. So this was considered a vegetarian entree, and it is not a sweet souffle. There's no sugar in this, so it is savory, and I'm very excited to try it. I think also it would be great with a seed butter if you're allergic to peanuts or other nuts. So let's get started. I'm gonna show you what we have here today and then kind of get started on it. So let me show you the equipment and the ingredients first. So we have the yolks from 4 eggs, the whites from 4 eggs, which I'm gonna whip up with my rotary beater. We have 3/4 of a cup of natural peanut butter, so no sugar in this. This is a creamy kind. I'm sure you could use a chunky kind as well. A tablespoon of butter. It just says a tablespoon of fat, and I prefer butter, so that is what I'm gonna use there. But I'm sure you could use lard or shortening or coconut oil or something. This is 1.5 teaspoons of salt. I love to use kosher salt in everything, so that's what I have here. I have a little bit of fresh squeezed lemon juice. It just says a few drops if you want, so I just squeezed half a lemon here, and 6 tablespoons of flour. And over there near the stove, I have a 1.5 cups of milk that I'm going to scald. That means that I'm gonna heat it up, but I'm not going to boil it. So it gets pretty hot, but not to the boiling point. And then I have my souffle dish. I actually bought this today at a thrift store. It was a great deal because I was like, oh wait, I don't have a souffle dish. It does not really specify too much the size or anything specific about the container, except for it just says place in a baking dish set in a pan of water. So I'm just going to use something that's kind of souffle-ish. This might be a little big, but we'll see. It'll be fun to experiment. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to beat up the egg whites, and then we'll get over to the milk scalding. So I will see you in a moment. So let's get going on these egg whites. It's going to take me a little while because of the rotary beater. I actually need to look up and see when electric mixers were first introduced, but I figure, you know, let's be a little bit authentic. This is certainly better than a fork or a regular whisk. I will definitely get them pretty whisked up. However, I'm going to give them a re-whisk before we fold them into the souffle. Have you tried a souffle before, or have you made one? Seems like it used to be that restaurants had souffles for dessert on the menu a little more often, that you'd order ahead of time, but not so much anymore. But anyway, we did try some souffles at a souffle restaurant. Well, that's kind of their specialty in Paris, and it was really yummy. We each had a savory souffle and then a dessert souffle, so it was all souffles. It was so good. I'm trying to remember the flavors, but they were fantastic. I remember the mushroom one was really really good. Anyway, I'm gonna actually, these are not beaten to the consistency I need them quite yet. However, since there is some cooling time on the other mixture, I'm gonna give this a rest and we're gonna move to the stove. So I'm gonna be heating this milk up to scalding, which means it's not gonna boil, but it's gonna get hot to the touch. So I usually kind of look for little bubbles and steaming on it. There's a lot of older recipes in books that call for scalded milk, and for some reason a lot of recipes I used growing up called for scalded milk as well. So let me know in the comments if you use this method for anything. I noticed in a lot of these older recipes they kind of assume that you know what you're doing, because sometimes they don't even specify certain technique, like what the technique means, or what size pounds to use, or in some of the bread recipes I noticed they don't really say how many loaves it makes. It's very, very interesting. So anyways, let's see if that is not quite hot enough, but I'm gonna stop this here and do the rest off camera, and then I'm gonna show you the next step on the other side of the stove. Okay, we're back at the other side of the stove. So I have a bigger saucepan here, and I'm going to add the butter. I'm going to melt that first before we add in the flour, the peanut butter, and then the seasoning, so the salt, and then if we want a tiny bit of lemon juice. So let's get this butter melting, and it's almost like we're gonna make kind of a little bit of a peanut butter roux. So we're not making gumbo, but kind of a sauce, a thickened flour and butter sauce. So this be melting. I want to make sure that's melted. It's a little bit stuck to here. It's okay. Get that melted really well before I add in the flour and the peanut butter and the seasoning. So, how many of you love butter? I love butter so much. Especially on toast. Just melty butter on toast is so good. Especially on homemade bread or bagels. So yummy. Alright, so this is almost melted here. Alright, so that's looking good. Let's add in the flour, the salt, tiny bit of lemon juice, and I'm going to use something for the peanut butter. Get that in there. It's always a big race when you've got the heat on. Trying to get all that in there quickly. Here we go. Don't want to burn it. Okay, that's good enough. And let's turn down the heat a little bit. This is a really interesting sauce. So, I'm supposed to cook this for about 3 minutes. And, whew, this is a very thick thing to cook for 3 minutes without the milk. But I will give it a go. Let's get that as incorporated as I possibly can in there. It's a little bit lumpy, but that's okay. We'll get that incorporated. I'll try to approximate 3 minutes as best I can. And get the milk in there in just a moment. Okay, that's coming together a little bit better. Looking a little bit like peanut butter Play-Doh. So let me get this going. Okay, so let's pour this in a little bit and then we'll add some more. Okay, I'm going to turn that down a little bit. So let's turn in the rest of the milk. Now I think at this point I can try to add the extra peanut butter that didn't get in there really quickly. All right, so let me get this cooking. So we want to continue cooking this until it boils. I want to give it a moment. I'm going to keep the heat on low just a tiny bit because I want to get these lumps out of here and get it into a smoother sauce consistency before I crank up the heat any. It's looking a little better. Just don't want it to get burned or scorched too much. That's starting to look a little better. Okay. So once we get this put together and boiling, we're gonna add this mixture off the heat to the egg yolks, and then we'll cool that down, and that'll give us time to finish up the egg whites, which I'll just do off camera because it's just a lot of the rotary beater, which is noisy. So, and it takes several minutes to use that method, so I will speed it up as much as I can. All right. Smoothing this out as much as I can. Okay, that's starting to look better. I don't want to crank up the heat too much. I've just kind of got it at low right now. And I'm sure once I crank up the heat, it will definitely boil quickly. I just want to get this as smooth as I can so it'd be really pretty. A few lumps is totally fine, but let's try to smooth it out. All right, this is getting pretty thick. I think it might be starting to kind of bubble. Let's let it be first. Oh yeah, okay, it's time to take it off. And I will be back in one moment to show the mixing together process. I just wanted to show you quickly what the egg yolk and peanut butter sauce mixture looks like. I went ahead and whisked it quickly because I want to make sure and incorporate it, and it's getting nice and smooth now. So now I'm going to finish whipping up the egg whites, and then that'll give us this a chance to cool down, and then we'll fold it in and get it ready for our souffle. All right, so this has cooled a little bit, and we are gonna add in the stiffly beaten egg whites that I used the rotary beater on. It took quite a while, but they're looking pretty good. So let's get those folded in, nice and fluffy. So we'll get this folded together, and then we're going to be putting it in the souffle dish. And I have it in a big roasting pan that is filled with water. That's what it calls for. And right now I have the oven at 375, and I'll be showing you how to place it in the oven. Then it's going to bake for about 30 minutes, And this is something that you want to serve right away while it's nice and puffy and lofty. So it's one of those things you got to get everybody to the table at the same time. You know, the deflated souffle still tastes good, but it's not quite the wow factor. So, very curious about this because it smells super delicious. I love peanut butter. And a lot of good protein in here with the eggs and the peanut butter. So, that's looking pretty good. I don't want to mix it way too much, so I will show you in a moment how to put it in the dish. So we have a roasting pan filled with water, and then we have the souffle dish here inside. So I'm just gonna carefully spoon this mixture in, and I think I actually got the right size souffle dish. At least I think this is gonna be great because it holds quite a bit, but I also think it's gonna puff up quite nicely. So here's hoping it looks nice and fluffy so far. Just trying to get the last little bits in here. Hate to waste all that yummy souffle goodness. I'm super excited to see it puff up. It's always the fun part. I don't think that souffles are really super hard to make. You just gotta get everything fluffed up and the timing right. So, all right, let's get this going. The only other savory souffle I've made was a cheese one, and that was quite good as well. So let's see if this 1928 vegetarian recipe is a hit. All right, let's get that in the oven in a moment. All right, I'm gonna go behind me here and get this souffle in the oven. Let's open it up the oven all the way and just slowly, as you can see, I have the roasting pan with the souffle in the middle, and it's partially filled with water. And now that I think about it, I actually need to put one of these racks down below, because if it puffs up, I don't want it to be hindered by this rack. So make sure your upper rack is moved to the bottom here. And let's set the timer for 30 minutes. And we're not gonna open it until it is ready. So the last part of this recipe, I thought it was interesting. It says this is a hearty main dish, but because of its texture, should have something crisp or solid served with it. So maybe a salad or some veggies or some other type of thing like that would be yummy with that. So, alrighty, I will see you in a moment when it is out of the oven. All right, we are about 2 minutes out from the souffle coming out. So I want to show you as much as I can when it comes out, what it looks like. I'll be taking some photos, of course, as well, but I am super excited for it to come out. So I think what I'll do is in just a moment, I'm gonna move the camera so we can see it a little bit closer. So it just came out of the oven and it looks really beautiful. Let me see if I can move it a little bit. It did puff up quite a bit, and it's almost to the top of the dish. It looks really beautiful. So I will be back with some tasting in just a moment. The gang's all here. We're ready for dinner, ready to dig in. So
smells really good.
Let's taste this peanut souffle. Mmm. Mmm. Wow. It has a lot of good peanut flavor. It's interesting how I keep expecting it to be sweet, but it tastes really good still.
You're right. It's very peanutty, but not sweet. Not like
I'm like, oh wait, this is not a dessert, but
You guys have much more of a tolerance for like really hot foods.
Oh yeah, that's probably a little steaming hot. Usually we don't call you this early for getting it out of the oven. That bit might be okay.
It's good though.
Oh, good.
it's delicious.
Yeah, really interesting.
It's honestly not like
right?
anything I've ever had before.
Yeah.
Adam approved.
Yay, I like it too. Enjoy. Thanks. I hope you guys enjoy this at home as well.